God, that's like the most interesting question that I've never even had to think about something in like reverse like that.
Mental health burnout, especially on YouTube for creators, is absolutely a real phenomenon. So I got one of the realest, most authentic voices there are.
Woo!
To talk about this exact subject, let's welcome Emma Chamberlain to the channel. Welcome
Hi.
to the Dr. Mike channel, Emma. I can't believe we're so lucky to talk with you today. The topic that I wanted to discuss is something to do with how we as creators on YouTube are oftentimes looked at as people who are ungrateful for their success. I've even heard the term YouTube crybaby be thrown around. We've tried making videos. I've watched your videos talking about the anxieties that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. I have my own anxieties that I deal with. My patients have their own anxieties. But the ones that creators feel are kind of unique and not well understood by the general public. Do you agree?
I totally agree. I think it's like, sorry, my cat is trying to get on the cat perch and I prop my computer on the cat perch, which is my bad. Anyways, that is not a joke. I would probably like not understand or empathize with somebody who is feeling how I'm feeling now, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Before I started this, which, you know.
What do you think changed there? Like what in your perspective has shifted?
I think, well, now that I'm in it, I mean, like now I'm like, oh, there's just so many different things that are stressful and upsetting and scary and like whatever that I don't even think people understand or could even understand like before it happens to you. And of course it comes with the great and amazing things as well. But like, I think the struggles are like weirdly like feelings that I would never have expected to feel, like about like how everybody's watching you and like, you know, how you feel like you're constantly being analyzed and stuff like that. That creates this underlying anxiety constantly that I never would have expected.
That feeling of being judged, constantly analyzed, like that's a really good way to put it. Do you think that has shifted your perspective the most out of all the things that happen to YouTube creators?
That's definitely a huge part of it. I do also think like you like when things happen to you that are crazy and you feel kind of numb to that. Like I think that was another huge thing.
That's so good.
Yeah, that's a tough one and it sucks. It does suck because, you know, you want to feel excited or like, you know, in a sense, like you expect to feel like you're euphoric about certain things. And then when you don't, you're like, am I okay?
So here's my thought. Have you ever heard of the principle of the hedonic treadmill?
No.
Okay, so the hedonic treadmill is the principle in psychology whereby no matter what level of extrinsic happiness, things that are outside of your body, what level of success you get there, you will never feel completely happy and fulfilled. Meaning that you initially want a Toyota, then you want an Infiniti, then you want a BMW, then you want a Lamborghini, then you want an antique car, and there's never like a level of full satisfaction that you get in your life. Same thing happens with money, same thing happens with fame. All these things are okay and they're good to strive for, they're good challenges, but long term, that level of outside happiness does not make you feel fulfilled. YouTube, I think, functions as an evil personal trainer, and this is a funny way to put it, that encourages you to go onto this hedonic treadmill and never get off. Because you get on, you want 1 million subscribers, you get it. And instead of celebrating your 1 million subscribers and feeling fulfilled, YouTube's like, no, now you gotta get to 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. And why? Because I feel, and please jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, that unless you're growing on YouTube, your channel is actively dying.
1,000%. I think that like, it is like every YouTuber's biggest fear to like, you know, either plateau or start to decline. Like it's terrifying. And I think that that's why, you know, so many YouTubers are like in this like constant state of panic because it's like everything can change in an instant. And, you know, if you're not keeping up with everything, then, you know, and I think a lot of YouTubers, their happiness is tied to how their channel is doing, which is so sad. And like, I've done it before. I feel like YouTube is so fast. And so you don't have a chance to like breathe. It's like, you're just on this treadmill going 12, you're sprinting, constant sprint. And it's I think that's why people burn out so quickly, to be honest.
We're forced by the algorithm to consistently innovate everything we're doing day to day or week to week with our videos. And that type of pressure, especially not on a giant company, on you and I, just two people, is huge. Like, how can you expect for someone to not have control over what makes them successful, to constantly have to experiment, take risks where they fail, and be happy? Like, it's like a setup for failure in a mental health capacity.
I've learned over time how to have a separate life.
Okay.
Like, have two separate lives, and I think that's really helped. But it's still, I know right now I'm kind of a little bit burnt out, and I don't have any idea. I mean, especially because we're locked in home too.
Sure. Has anyone ever assumed something about you that you like hated because on the outside it could be true, but it wasn't?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think a lot of people assume that, I mean, luckily I've been very vocal about like the different mental health struggles I've had, but I have had some people like try to say that I have not struggled with mental health and that like that was all just a lie or whatever, because like, again, how could you be unhappy? How could you be lonely? I also think a lot of people assume that I have a larger social circle than I have, when in reality I'm quite isolated, and like I don't have a large social circle, and I spend a lot of time by myself, and people again assume like, well, she has a lot of friends and she's happy all the time, like she can't complain about anything, but in fact neither of those things are true. And so I think discrediting anybody's mental health or, whatever, no matter if they're Selena Gomez or they're, person sitting next to you in your math class, like it's just, you can't do that because every human struggles with it. And so that made me angry.
Yeah. There's a lot of irony in what you're talking about that, even right now, we're talking in front of millions of people, or when you make a video, you're talking to millions of people, but you're really talking to yourself.
Yes.
And that gets lonely, despite the fact on the outside, it looks like you're having a conversation with so many people.
Right. It is really lonely because I think it is one thing to read comments and, do that whole thing. But at the same time, that's not a human connection where you can hug the person or, you get to actually have a conversation with the person. And luckily, sometimes that happens at different, if you're out and about and, you see somebody who watches your videos, that can be a really awesome experience and kind of makes that more personal. But on a day-to-day basis, it's like, it's just me and a computer and then my two friends and parents. It's
like an ironic cycle that we've become a part of, this vicious cycle of where you think you're talking to more and more people, but you're really disconnected from more and more people because while you can talk to millions, you can't have an individual conversation. When someone writes something negative to you, whether that critique is accurate or not, the fact that you can't talk back to that one person is another step where you're losing control, and a loss of control for any human, I don't care who you are, is painful and anxiety provoking. Do you think you're ever pressured to be happy, to enjoy success when you might not even feel that way? Are you forced to put on a smile?
I think for sure. I don't ever want to be the vibe killer. You know what I mean? I never want to be the one that's being negative or whatever, which is ironic because I tend to be self-deprecating on my channel. But it's always in good fun, I don't know. I do feel a pressure to be happy all the time because I feel like people don't want to be around or don't want to watch somebody who's kind of down in the dumps a little bit. And so it's tough because that's, I think, a big reason why I do isolate myself. I only want to be around people or be on the internet when I'm in a good place. And so sometimes I disappear out of my friendships or off the internet for a little bit, and everybody's like, where did she go? And it's just because I don't like putting a side of me out that I'm not super proud of. And I'd rather kind of deal with that on my own.
Which is fair, right? Right. Not everything deserves to be shared on social media. And one of your comments in some of your videos that I watched that you repeated is, YouTube is sort of a form of therapy for you. Mm-hmm. So take me through that, because you, on one hand, you say here in this answer that you don't like showing the negative side of you, but you're also a very honest person on social media, and you use it as a place to vent and work through your troubles. How do you have both of those happening simultaneously?
Well, YouTube being like a therapy for me, I feel like it's interesting because when I'm like it started like that, especially because in the beginning I was going through a lot of different mental health struggles, and I was in school, and the whole thing, it was really toxic. And so having like almost an extracurricular activity for me was like a huge help. And then as this has kind of become my whole life, I think when I'm struggling with things in my personal life, like let's say I'm having issues with my friendships or something and it's upsetting me, getting to work, and like making a video and putting everything into that, that's kind of therapeutic. But then at the same time, YouTube can be a reason why I need to go to therapy. So I don't know.
I think what you're describing, correct me if I'm wrong, is it's called flow, and there's actually a book called Flow. And in general, we as humans, we have reasons why we do things. For example, we go to work so we can feed ourselves, survive.
Right.
If we're putting a lot of effort into the way we dress or attract like a partner, it's because we want to reproduce, right? There's these human drives, and there's all sorts of them that drive us. There are some things that we do that make no sense. For example, why put all the physical effort to climb a mountain just to come back down? And it's this state of flow that you're in that is just so inside, intrinsically fulfilling and happy that it doesn't matter if you don't get a prize to get on the top of the mountain. So initially you were doing YouTube to enter this state of flow. And now that YouTube has become your job, and now you're using it for not just flow, you're doing it for a paycheck and growing and all these other things, it's sort of changing your dynamic with how you interact with the platform.
Totally. I was always afraid of it becoming, I was like, I don't want to do this like as a job, I was like, that is just so like, I don't want to put it like that. I don't want to talk about it like that. But, it has become that. I think the most important thing for me, and since day one, was that I want to make sure that I'd be doing it regardless, and I try to keep that in my head. I'm like, if all of the success in a sense went away, like, would I still be doing it? And that kind of keeps me in check. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to look at it as a job in my mind. Is it? I guess technically yes, but when I look at it like that, it's not. This is a good way to put it. When I'm filming, like, I can't be thinking about the fact that it's my job. Like, it has to be like, I'm doing this for fun because I think it'd be fun.
When does being a YouTuber feel good for you?
Oh, there's a lot of times, actually. I think when I create a video that I'm really, really proud of and that I think is really good, that's an amazing feeling. And also, when I'm out and about and I meet people that watch my videos and we get to like have a connection in real life, that's amazing as well. And those are the two biggest gifts for me. To
flip that, when does it feel bad?
It feels bad when I create a video that I'm not as proud of. And, I put it out because it's like, once a video is done, even if you don't like it, my dad always told me, like, just post it anyway and then move on to the next week. You know what I mean? But don't, like, just scrap it because somebody might actually like it. But regardless, when I don't like a video, I feel like not good when I post it. And then I'm, like, just not proud of it. And that's, the worst thing ever. And obviously, like, when people hate on me, make fun of me, or are like, when there's things with my privacy that like are like my privacy is kind of not being respected, that can also make things terrible.
What content are you most proud of?
It's so random. Like, it'll be a random video. Like, it won't even be like a specific thing, but I feel like there's certain videos that I just like the whole, like, I like the mood I was in that day, mixed with, like, I like the editing in it specifically, and I like the concept. It'll all kind of, like, come together. I don't even have an example. I feel like the last video I made that I really liked was, I liked my birthday video. I made one on my birthday where I had a birthday party on Omegle.
Oh, nice.
And so that was funny to me. And I, like, liked making it, and it was just, like, well, I didn't love making it because it was kind of Omegle scary. But yeah, but like afterwards when I watched it, I like enjoyed watching the video and I like watched it 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's how I know that it's something I like.
Last question. If you had to change one thing in your YouTube journey, what's the one thing you change? I'm giving you a magic wand. Change it right now.
Oh my God, my YouTube journey?
Yeah. You're the new Avenger. What do you change?
You know, the thing is, I always have been the type of person that like, I do not believe in regretting things.
Okay.
Or changing things or wishing that something was different. But I wish I could put a little thought into my younger mind and tell myself that like, not to put so much pressure on every single individual video that I create, because it's all about it's a bigger picture, you know? And I'm never gonna understand what it's like being on the other side of the screen. I'm never gonna know like what the viewer is thinking about me. And that's something I still to this day will never understand. I don't know why people watch my videos, to be honest, because I don't want to watch my own videos. So, but I've kind of come to terms with that now, and it used to drive me insane. I wish that I could tell myself, like, number one, it's not like each individual video, you don't need to torture yourself making every single video so perfect. I mean, do that and work as hard as you can, but like, don't let it ruin your personal life. You know, don't let it ruin your self-esteem, because it would ruin my self-esteem because I was like, this video is not perfect, and it would like mess up my view of myself. I just wish I could go back and be like, maybe don't do that because that's really unnecessary, and your video is going to be equally as good whether you're torturing yourself. So maybe just don't do that.
Look, essentially, you're giving advice to future creators so they don't repeat those same mistakes, and that's really valuable. This is sort of a pivot on that question, and something in a way that most people wouldn't answer it this way. But is there anything good that's happened to you that you'd like to change?
Anything good that's happened to me?
Because everyone thinks about changing the bad or mistakes that they've made. Anything that happened positive that you're like, if that didn't happen, I would have had to work a little harder or something would have been different. Anything like that, you could totally say no. But maybe there's something that you can think of.
Interesting. Like there's nothing I can think of, because I feel like all of the good things that have happened have been the reason why I've been able to keep going and push through the hard parts, because I do forget sometimes how hard the hard parts really were. And I know my parents are always here to be like, don't you struggle, like don't, because sometimes I'm like, I don't feel like I even struggled at all. But then my parents are like, how about all of these times that you were freaking out and you were like completely miserable over whatever, and they remind me. And then when I think about it, it's true. I had like some really tough phases throughout this, and I think the good things that have happened to me have pulled me out of all of it in a way that like was crucial for me to keep going.
Emma, you're an absolute rock star. I have to tell you that. I have to congratulate you on all of your success. Someone who is handling this situation that you're in quite well. And I hope you stay safe during quarantine.
You too. We can do this.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me. That was awesome.
All right. Thanks, Emma. Be safe. Gabby, Hannah, and I also talked about mental health, so click here for that video. Or if you're feeling down yourself and you need to recharge, click this one right here. And as always, stay happy and healthy. Which one are you clicking?